Wow.
recording also. So thank you guys for joining me today. Just to start it off, I'll just do introductions. So I'll just call you guys according to how I see you. So Amal, you can say your name, where you are right now, what you do, and one more thing, like what do you do for self care?
Okay. So my name is Amal Abdin. I'm currently in St. Louis, Missouri. I am an associate in corporate development and strategy with Humana. And yeah, that's me. What I do for self-care is I love getting massages a lot. So
Super relaxing. I love that. Cynthia next.
Hi, my name is Welinga. I'm in New York. I'm currently a technology associate in Morgan Stanley. What I do for self-care, I listen to a lot of music for hours. Yeah.
Who's your favorite artist right now?
Oh, oh. It changes a lot. So right now it's so funny. The chain guy, Chris Kaiga.
The chain guy.
The changing guy. Oh my God.
Wow, that's a lot for your
Kaiga.
favorite musician.
Chris
Wait.
Kaiga, no, Chris Kaiga. I'm currently listening to a lot of Chris Kaiga. I in the past I haven't listened to a lot of gengeton, so that's kind of like me getting into that mood. But yeah, I like it.
Not even a real Gengeton artist, but we'll let you have that.
I know
Wow.
he's not, but okay.
You know, whatever you are.
Okay.
I'm Sam again.
Mm.
Oh. Hi, I'm Marianne. I am currently at Goldman Sachs, second year analyst. I live in Jersey City with her. What I do for self care? I think just watching a lot of TV, but also all the thoughts I have, like she goes through all of them. Just like bouncing my feelings and my thoughts and my whatever I'm going through, bouncing off of her. So it's really helpful.
Awesome.
very
I
good.
love that. Vero.
Hi, Veronica. I am also a technology associate. I keep forgetting it's associate, not analyst, uh, at Morgan Stanley. Currently, oh yeah, she said we live together. And for self care, I don't know. I feel like maybe working out now. But I don't know if that's self care or just something that I have to
Like
do.
it?
It can be
Huh?
both. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, because I'm doing the clothing challenge. I hate it. I hate it, but it gets done.
No.
But other than that, like talking to Marianne, listening to music, yeah, mainly that.
Awesome. I love
Great.
that for you guys. So the next question is I've heard like you guys do different things. Cynthia and Vero, I think you guys do the same thing. And so far, like I hear a lot of people say like how these careers are cutthroat and stuff like that. But I just wanted to ask, like, what's the most rewarding thing that has come out of you working in that profession? Amal.
Ah, okay. So for me, it's I'm gonna talk about two things. Number one is the people that I meet. Come across I've come across and networked with so many amazing people, and I think it's just been so great. And just listening to people from different like places around the world, just give you their perspectives on things. So I feel like that's very rewarding about my career. And number two is so I work in a deal environment where you see a process go through from like, the initial stages of a deal to closing of a deal. So going through that and, at the beginning where you don't know what's going on and you're trying to figure things out to evaluating, modeling and all that towards, the selling, if like towards the buying of a company. So I feel like that whole process, like going through it and then afterwards now integrating the company within our own company. I feel like that whole process is very rewarding for me. So I feel pretty good once I close the deal. I'm like, oh my goodness, I did this. So yeah.
That was amazing. Proud of you. Cynthia, you next.
Same here. So for me, I think I've gotten a great deal of perspective about just life. I think there's a big difference between like where I come from in Eldoret, a small town, versus like where I am right now in New York, and a lot of things can feel impossible when you're like back home and you're not seeing the world. But here we like center of this, like the stage, and you're seeing, like Amala said, like great deals happening. You're seeing a lot of things, a lot of money, a lot of things. And I think that perspective, the fact that things are possible, they're reachable, they're not within, like they're not beyond your reach. You can easily, if you work hard and you have the right connections and a bit of luck, honestly. So if you have all those things geared towards you, you can definitely get there. So I think that openness to success, to good things in my life, is something that I'm constantly getting and constantly working towards.
Wonderful, Mary Ann.
Marianne?
I'm sorry, guys. Clearly, I'm
Mary Ann
on
zoned out.
I was just, just listening to Alinga speak. I got
No.
Right away.
I think the most rewarding thing for me, it's kind of similar to what Amal said. So, like, the people that I've gotten exposure to, honestly, like, I've met some of the smartest, most, like, nicest, most amazing people ever in my year and a half, 2 years at Goldman. And I think that's so, like, you'll know, like, I work a lot, and like IB is extremely demanding, and it's really hard to do that without having amazing people around you. Otherwise, I think, like, there's a time early on that I hated what I was doing, just because I hadn't really found my groove and I hadn't really met, people that I was really gelling with. But like, as stuff moved around, as I matured in my career, and over the last year, I got into teams that, like, really really work for me, and started working with people that, like, I can get along with, like really 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 nice people that I feel very free and comfortable with. And I think being able to listen to their experiences, their journeys, and, like, all the amazing things they've done and all the things that they're looking to do, um, kind of helps me see the possibilities, like, what the options are. So that, like, seeing a man leave Goldman, go to Humana, like, it makes me think, corporate development, that's a role that I could be interested in. So just, like, seeing all the endless opportunities that exist, I think that's what's been rewarding for me.
So, Vero.
I don't know how you follow that. But I think for me it's really kind of like what you guys have also experienced, especially meeting people, or the people that I have met so far in my, I guess, almost 2 years now at Morgan Stanley, is like people who just genuinely are rooting for you and genuinely want you to succeed. That has been the biggest impact, I think, for me so far, especially like my boss. I always say, like, she's literally like the best human being, or like the best boss. Like, she's chill. She still, like, gives me work that is challenging and, like, is very accessible. And like some of the things that you didn't think you need when you're starting your career, and then you actually start a new experience, you're like, oh, okay, an accessible boss is something that, like, you need in your especially your first year, because they guide you and they tell you, like, they show you the ropes, and like having a conducive environment to go through that learning was really really crucial for me, and I didn't even realize that when I was joining, but now I'm really really appreciative of, although I'm leaving that team. But I'll answer that, I'm sure, in another question. I'm sure.
Wonderful. I'm really glad a lot of you have brought up, like, meeting people and making those connections. I just wanted to ask, like, off of that, how did you navigate finding somebody about, like, a mentor status? Like, how do you navigate that? Because I think it's really weird to just go up to somebody's office and, like, oh, can you mentor me? Because I think
Right.
I would find it weird if somebody asked me that. But how did you navigate that?
I mean, you can be as honest as you. It's like, could you be my mentor? But I mean, that's not like, of course. But for me personally, is I have a mentor who was more of like a friend, and I was like, we had built like a very friendly camaraderie. So it was very easy for us to talk like about anything. So he was in investment bank. So first of all, if you're looking for a mentor, this is what I usually tell people. And like, first of all, look for people who, like, if you're working, you're looking into going maybe into investment banking, look for people who've worked in that role, because investment banking is such a structured role and there's so much that goes into it. So you need to find the right mentor. And then afterwards, of course, you're not just going to go to someone and be like, you can you be my mentor, but how I do it personally is, make sure that I have a catch up with them maybe after, like when I was in college, like, if I update my resume, I would send it to them and maybe have a catch up after every 3 months. It doesn't have to be like over the phone because people tend, to get very busy. So just send out an email like, hey, just wanted to update you on what's going on in my life. Like, this, like, I've joined this club. This is what I've done, attach this my updated resume and, send it to them. Like people would feel appreciated when you do that. And then when it's almost recruiting cycle and you send that resume to them, they'll be very easy to like, like forward your resume to the right contacts. But then you can't just go to someone and be like, hey, can you forward my resume? Like you build that relationship. So it's very critical. Like, and I tend to tell people all the time, building that relationship is an art that people need to learn. Like I feel like we are not taught this in school, but you really need to know how to build this relationship with people, and eventually they just become your mentors in like a very weird way, because I've never had to tell any of my mentors be my mentor, because they always know that I'd go to them if I have anything, like I need to talk about this. I know these are the people that I'd go to, or this person I'd talk about my career, this person I'd talk about my personal life. So it's the art of building that relationship. So yeah.
I really like
Yeah.
that you mentioned about like relationships and like making sure like along your way, along your career time, you're with them throughout the process. So when you need them, like they're always there.
Yeah.
Cynthia, what's your experience with this?
Yeah, so I guess unlike most people here, I've actually reached out to someone and asked them to be my mentor. So my academic background, I started off as a biology major, and then I switched to CS. And during that, before I made that pivot, I was very confused. Like, where do I start? I'm entering my junior year. I have 2 years left in college. Like, how do I, approach this? And I reached out to some of the Kenyans that I knew in technology, and they were able to guide me. And that relationship has been nurtured up to this point. That's one. And then two, so maybe just a cold email, so that works sometimes, but definitely be very cautious about it. Like, be very respectful. You may hear back, you may not hear back. So that's also, half and half chance. That's one way. And then two, I think I like what Amal mentioned about how some friendships might, just evolve to be like a mentor friend relationship. I think I have that with Veronica, probably Marianne to a degree, but I think Veronica more because we're in the same field. So that is there as well. And I think be respectful about that, because with friendship, it's easy to cross that line where you are not taking them seriously, or you're not really like concerned about this other relationship, which is very, is also growing alongside this friendship. So be very careful about that. Another thing I wanted to mention is that some companies do have a structured mentorship program. So with my company, we did have a mentor during my internship, even during my full-time training program. So if they're not aligned with either your identity or your career path, you can tell them, oh, do you know someone who works in this area? So there you tap off from where they are, and then they connect with someone else, and that social connection, can grow as much as you want it to grow. So you can also use the people in your circle to be able to, grow further, and basically find common ground with people who you would like to mentor you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really helpful. Marianne, what do you think?
Yeah, I think both Amal and Olinga have hit on very important points. I think relationship building is crucial.
Yeah.
You can start that very early. Like you can start that when, I mean, I know this is hard right now, but like when you had people come to campus from different companies to visit, you can make a connection with one person, start that conversation, and like she said, keep reaching out, like let them know how you're doing, so that like by the time you do need something from them, it's not just out of the blue, because they're gonna get, as you'd expect, people they're gonna have multiple people reaching out during recruitment,
Yeah.
and so like what's going to have you stand out
Yeah.
at that point. Um, but I think like so once like in the workspace, as an intern or as a full-time employee, sometimes some organizations and some groups have structured mentorship programs where you're assigned a mentor. And I think that's great because at least you have a point of contact, but it's not you don't always connect to the person who is like assigned to you.
Yeah.
I think it's worth giving to shots, trying to see if this person can be helpful, and trying to see if you can build that relationship, but also just looking around, looking at who you admire, who's similar to you, who has something in common with you, such that you can like if obviously like we'd all probably look for women. I mean, you can also have male mentors, but like in spaces that are have such few women, having a female mentor, someone to talk through things, because you're going to go through things that aren't going to be common to people around you. Like having a POC mentor, especially, I feel like
Yeah.
for me is huge. And when I was an intern, there was this guy who was from Zimbabwe, who was an associate in my group, and honestly, he was amazing. Like that was the best point of contact for me because like he got a lot of where I was coming from. Like he also grew up in Zimbabwe up until the end of high school, then came to the US. So like, you know, relatability, like it was really high. So he got a lot of where I was coming from and what I knew and didn't know, and just like cultural differences and stuff like that. And so it was really easy to talk to him about things that I'm struggling with that you're like to a white person would be really difficult to even try and bring up. Like they just would not understand where you're coming from. And obviously people mean well and will try to be helpful. It's just not an experience that they have gone through that or that they can relate with. Um, and so I think like just looking out for people that you think you can have something in common with and you can build that relationship with. And you know, maybe it starts with going to a networking event and talking to a few people and seeing who do you think you can click with, or just looking at the leaders in your group, and trying to figure out like who can you start having a conversation with, and then like building that relationship, being intentional about it. You can ask someone to be your mentor upfront, but you can also start talking to them and like literally just make them your mentor. By
Yeah.
just reaching out when you need help, setting up coffee chats, like and then it's gonna grow into a mentorship relationship. And I think either approach is valid. It just depends on what you're more comfortable with and what works for you.
Yes.
Really glad you brought up relatability. Vera, do you have anything to
Mhm.
add?
Yeah, I feel like basically every point that's been made really sums it up. I think the only thing I would add is on the point of relatability or where you can find relatable people could be trying one of the groups in your company. So like let's say there's a women in tech or women in banking or the black network or just any what are they called, those networks, what are they called?
Affiliation groups.
Affiliation? No, not really.
That's what they call it, yes.
Oh, well, yeah, depending on what your company calls them. I forget what they're called at MS, but which are those groups
Or
that,
diversity groups. Yeah.
yeah, diversity groups. Oh, thank you. So yeah, whatever groups that have your people, um, or you can join and see if there's any people that you can relate to over there. And I guess another thing is if your relationship with your boss could like there's a possibility that that relationship can also evolve into a mentorship depending on the relationship that you have with them to begin with. But like obviously that's not a guarantee and it's not a must that you click with your boss. um but yeah, I also wanted to add on the points that Welinga made where we have assigned mentors. Because yeah, we work in the same company and so as interns we got like senior mentors and peer mentors. um so my senior mentor actually ended up being a really, really valuable relationship, but I didn't even realize. So because when I was an intern, we were just like, um, we had a good rapport to begin with, and he was mentoring six of us at the time. But like, I feel like me and him just had like a connection with like just we got each other even if he wasn't Kenyan and he's Indian actually. Anyway, so that relationship now is the kind of the reason why I'm leaving my team. Because like Marianne was talking about, you do catch up, and Amal also mentioned this. When you catch up with them, you just update them what's going on in your life. So literally in December, I was talking to him and I was like, oh, let's do a catch up. Summarize the year, whatever. And so I was just talking about like my interests and like how I would like to maybe look into product management type things like that. And he goes like, well, I do have a role opening up in my team. Do you wanna switch over? And I was like, yeah, why not? Like it's an opportunity to learn. So things like that. Like you don't know what your relationship with your mentor, what doors it could open. So I'd say like just keep those catch ups alive, and even if you're not saying much, like drop an email. Just
Yeah.
say hi, be like how you doing. Just small things, they do add up in the long run.
So,
Yeah.
okay, no, go ahead. Sorry to cut you short.
No, go ahead. Okay.
So, to just add on to what everyone has said, I think like one crucial thing is intentionality when it comes to building and maintaining this relationship. It's
Yeah.
very, very important because for the most part of it, we meet so many people. Along the way, and we tend to forget about them. So, pro
Yeah.
tip from me is I usually have an Excel spreadsheet where I like write down like where I met this person, and their first last name, their email address, and how long has it been ever since I caught up with them. And I look at my Excel sheet after every maybe 1 or 2 months, and I'm like, okay, it's due time now. I need to like talk to this person, or like send this person an email, or catch up with them. I think it's very crucial.
Yeah. And also on that point, like sometimes you can meet someone and you don't necessarily connect in that like first meeting.
Yeah,
But and that's okay, right? Like you can just have that conversation at that time, like get what you need to get from that conversation, and that should be okay. So it's not a must that you will connect with that person that you're reaching out to, and that's okay.
totally.
Sorry, I think
Yeah.
it's also worth acknowledging that like some of the situations can be extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially like maybe going to a networking event, there are a lot of people like trying to find who to talk to, very uncomfortable. Even when you're having that one-on-one conversation, and you're thinking about that email, sometimes you're like, is this like you overthink it, and sometimes you're not sure if you should do it or not.
Yeah.
But like, it's definitely worth doing. It's definitely worth making those steps.
Yeah.
As pushing yourself to make those steps.
Yeah.
So that you can start building networks, and like I think it's just worth acknowledging that some of the situations are really
Very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
But yeah, it's
But
worth doing.
sorry. But worst case scenario is that they don't respond to your email.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, but definitely. Ish, yeah. Wait, PTSD. Sorry.
It's home.
Where?
Now we talked about representation and everything. I just wanted to like ask, have you found it challenging not only being a woman, a black person, but like also being African? Has that been a challenge in the workplace, and how does that look like in your organization?
One person can take this, whoever wants to take it.
I was literally just talking to you about this like a
Yeah.
couple of minutes ago. But I think we have different nini. But for me, I was literally just telling Miriam, I feel like I have been so lucky in that the spaces that I have been, I haven't faced like overt, I guess, discrimination. Even microaggressions, because you notice when there's like tiny things and someone is being microaggressive. I feel like I haven't experienced that. And I was even telling Maria, I'm like, okay, so is it now I'll start experiencing? But it could be because like the team that I joined is 80% POC, and it was women. It was mostly women and a lot of POC, but POC is like specifically South Asian, so it's not necessarily African POC or Black POC. To be honest, I think it's probably the only Black person. But that's the thing, like I never felt like the only Black person. Even like pre-COVID, like when we were in the office, I didn't feel any of the tensions. And this is specifically in the post-grad, so now when I actually joined my team. So honestly, I feel like I'm probably the worst person to answer this question because my experience has been very sheltered to some extent.
But
And I don't know why.
no, but I think that that is a valuable like reflection, that it's not always going to be that you are like on the defensive side, that you are
Yeah.
dealing with microaggressions, or like experiences are very different. And yeah, I think that is a valid reflection. So it's okay.
Miriam.
Yeah.
Very different experience.
No, so okay, so my spaces, the workspaces I've been in have been predominantly white, like from internship to my full-time position right now. They're predominantly white spaces, and I haven't had anyone like be like actually overtly racist or that to me, but like there are situations where, especially at the very beginning, when I felt people are making assumptions about what I know or don't know, and like this is one of those things that like you can never really be sure, is it because of this, or is it just like, is this how they treat everyone, or is it not? But I think, I don't know. I think like, so something I decided really early on is that like I 100% embrace the fact that I'm African, and like all of that. And so like when I was going, because we have casual Fridays at work, and I'd go to work in the dashiki almost every Friday, just intentionally being like, this is me. Yeah, and wearing these earrings to work. I really love wearing these earrings to work because you can wear them any day. And I actually bought like a whole pack of Afro type earrings, just because it's a part of who I am. And I feel like people are really careful about it, and this is fully well intentioned, like because they don't know what to say or ask, especially when it comes to like the fact that you're from Africa, and it's like that thing that people will like walk around and like not want to ever bring up. And I've had on our Zoom call, I hope not from GS, so just this, but like
Well, you know they'll know.
and the beer party, the beer party, we had a Zoom call for everyone, and then say I was in Kenya. And so there was this question of like, oh, let's say who's the farthest from New York at this moment? And some people are like, oh yeah, I traveled 8-hour flight, whatever our flight. I was like, guys, I was on a 14-hour flight to Kenya, Nairobi. Yeah, to Nairobi. And then this MD, he's like, oh wow, Nairobi, that's Kenya, that's so nice. I'm going to, where did he say he was going? Like Zimbabwe or something.
God.
Yeah, so he was literally like, yeah, I want to unplug and just be one with nature.
Oh no.
And so I was like, okay,
What do I do with this information?
what am I supposed to do? I've never been to the country that you're talking about. Like, I haven't been there. Like,
I don't know what nature is in Zimbabwe.
Right?
Yes.
Oh man! And it was like this was Zoom call with all of the insurance people, and like it was like, oh yeah, no, I haven't been there. Like I was literally like, I don't know what to tell you because I want to like. Because I wanted to like point out first of all, different place completely, but without being like rude. Because also this is
an MD.
It's a senior partner in my group, and someone I've never spoken to before, and he just felt the need to, once I mentioned I was in Kenya, he just felt the need to let me know of his future travel plans.
Well,
And I know a lot of people are like, would cringe because of that, but like, yeah, it's just the kind of thing that people just don't know how to deal with. Recently, when I was talking to an associate of mine, I love this guy. He's my favorite associate. He's my favorite person at GS, honestly. We're talking, and he mentioned this movie, Lord of the Rings, one of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. Crucify me.
Yeah, we think she said that in public.
So I
I'm
haven't
not saying anything, Maria. I'm quiet.
myself, so I haven't seen the Rings. So he made a reference, and then I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, oh, are you telling me you haven't seen the Rings? I was like, yes. And then I was like, I just made a joke. I was like, yeah, I grew up in Africa, and then I quoted like, we don't care about it. It's not that we don't have TVs. And he was literally like, his response was like, okay, I
can't respond there.
Like what's he gonna say? It was like he was basically like, you're on a mission to make me feel bad about myself, and I was like, no, that's not true. And then we joked about it and laughed about it after, but it's just the kind of thing that like people can be super careful about. And I think it's I'd like people to know that this is a part of who I am, and it's a part of me.
Yeah.
As long as you embrace, I feel like as long as you embrace who you are and be comfortable in your own skin, like everyone else they will get in line eventually. Like it's very important for me at like when I started at first I was like super uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God, what are they saying about me? Like I wasn't even comfortable enough given that I'm working in a white male dominated environment, but I'm also a woman and I'm black and I'm Muslim. So I wasn't really comfortable embracing the fact that, okay, I'm going to have to wear a headscarf at work. Like, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. But now I have. And when I do, everyone else is like, oh, wow, that's like, what does that signify? Like, they ask me questions around it. And I'm very comfortable, like, responding to people, like, it's because of this and that and that. So as long as you're comfortable in your own skin, I feel like everyone else gets in line.
Yeah.
It starts with accepting yourself. So
Yeah.
Very
I think one thing that always pisses me off is being like the black person in the room who has to speak about black issues, in the room. And I think I have actually just now and like listened to Veronica talk, is when I've kind of like looked at my own experience. I think being in college, predominantly white, CS faith, it's very just white, essentially. And coming to a work environment where it's very different from like the academic setting where most of my team as well is POC. And something about I have also my manager is also like a woman. Something about that kind of sets me at ease, like subconsciously. I don't actively think about it, but I don't always feel kind of called out in like among like white people, because not all white people, it's mostly POC. So that changes things for me a little bit. And I think one thing about my manager that has come to the surface now more than before. Are you guys frozen?
No,
we're
we can
listening.
hear you.
Okay, yeah. So right now in the US it's Black History Month, February. And Morgan Stanley has us a lot of events happening this month, and I haven't had to speak about either like one of them. Like my manager is always bringing it up and telling the team like this is happening, and like attend this one. And she's also telling me like I attended this one, I really liked it, I think you should go to the next one. And I think having not to be like the tired advocate every single time really helps. So also in terms of professional setting, try and align yourself with people who are supportive of your identity. It takes effort to assert it yourself, but if you have that support and the systems in
Yeah,
place to be able to help you assert it even further, it really like takes a lot of labor off your hands, for sure.
yeah, it does.
It was really exhaustive. I love it. Just looking back at your recruitment process, I think you guys are really in really prestigious spaces right now. Not really prestigious, but like you feel me. Places right now in well-established companies. Looking back to your recruitment processes, would you say what would you say helped you like navigate that and get the positions you got to this point?
Okay, so I'll keep it very short. So for me, I when so it's doing internships, number one. So I started doing my internships from the time I was freshman, sophomore, and I that sort of like made me know what I liked and what I did not like. And given that finance as like a major was very theoretical in nature, I was like, I need some hard technical tangible skills that I can utilize later on in my career. And I was like, okay, what's going to give me that? So in my junior year of college, I ended up interning for an asset management firm in New York, and I really liked it. I ended up getting an offer from them, but then I was like, my role was very more of like research based, and I was like, this is not what I was looking for. So knowing like interning is very very important, number one. So it because it sort of like sets you to know what you like, your likes and what you don't like. So and then after that, I knew, and then after and talking to multiple people, I knew that okay, now I want to go into investment banking. And investment banking is such a structured role. For you to start recruiting, you need to start prepping way way early. So I did not know that I I was gonna get into investment banking. I was like, you know what? Let me just give it a try. So I leveraged my offer that I had at Prudential, and just straight up cold emailed someone on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, interested in joining your team, this, and I ended up getting an like interview, flew to New York, got the job. So preparation, you need to prepare way early, talk to the right people. You need to, I feel like it's very important for people to do internships so that you get to know what you like and what you don't like. So those are the things that have like helped me out a lot, especially talking to the right people, because there's so much that goes into the recruiting process. Some of the questions that ask that you would never think, like valuation modeling questions that you never thought about, like, or you're never taught in class. You just have to do some self studies and all that. So talking to the right people and doing internships were the two critical things that helped me out.
Awesome. Who else? Somebody else has.
I can go next. I think, it's kind of similar. So I interned as a sophomore at Credit Suisse, and that to get that internship, honestly, a fair amount of luck was involved because I didn't really know anyone and I didn't know about networking at that point.
Yeah.
But
You're a
then,
sophomore.
yeah, because I was a sophomore, I sent in an application and I was lucky enough to get the interview. But so after that, I wanted to switch to Goldman and I had to be intentional about that switch. So we had Goldman alums come to campus, and there's this guy, like he was speaking. We had Williams alums at Goldman come to campus, and so I went up and talked to this guy, and we just had a conversation, and it was a really good conversation. And at the end of it, he was like, "Send me your resume," and I did, and that's kind of how I ended up moving to Goldman because he got an interview set up. Like we had he connected me to other people in Fig because I was in Fig and Credit Suisse. So he connected me to people in Fig at GS, and they started having conversations, and he just basically helped me through the recruiting process and the interviewing process. And I don't know what I said or didn't say, like what in that conversation, because he spoke to multiple people that day, because he was on campus. And I don't know if it's something I said or whatever, it made him be like, okay, yeah, this, I see some potential, for him
He
to be
saw
like,
you.
Yeah, but like that's why like having those conversations and just going out on a limb, it could literally make the difference because like these companies get so many resumes, so many, and it's really hard. Like you can be as the most qualified person, but it's just like really hard for resumes to your resume to stand out, especially when you have a lot of white kids having their dads as they work in these companies or have this kind of connection or that connection, or people who play sports. Because sports teams also, I didn't realize this, but there's like some level of pulling in resumes of people like because you have the connection because you played together. So now
Yeah.
you come to Goldman and then you know this guy, and so like that kind of network. And so like being PSCs in international, like there are a lot of networks that we're not into, and so just trying to build them out for yourself as much as possible, really important. And at least right now we have a network in finance at the very least, and so people coming in, you have people to reach out to, if this is what you're interested in doing, and you have a network in tech. And so just reaching out to also just the Kenyans who are already in these spaces. Because before, when I was recruiting, there was Justin who was
Yeah.
already at JP, and then he was at Goldman. And so at least it didn't feel completely and entirely out of reach because you can at least see someone who's actually doing it. So it's helpful to have those people and reach out to those people.
Yeah, I think also I can add, I think for me, what I wish I knew, let me go at it from that angle. Like, I wish I knew a lot of the things early on. And I feel like maybe the people who are coming in now have that luxury because they, like Marianne said, there's more people in these careers now that you can see, oh, okay. So, I wish I knew some of these things as a freshman. Like, like what Amal is saying, she was interning from freshman year, sophomore year, and some of these things, because it's very very structured recruiting, especially for finance and some tech, is like, and once the bus leaves, it's gone, and like that's it. And so if you miss the junior year internship, it's so hard for you to get a full time, because companies recruit from especially junior year internships for full time offers. um so I wish I knew some of these things earlier on, like when I was a freshman slash sophomore. But that being said, it also definitely helped to see people who are doing it, because Marianne interned as a sophomore at CS, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's something that I can see. So now, by the time I was getting into junior year recruiting, I kind of already knew the ropes and I knew the people. And me, I don't know if this is unique for me, but I recruited for everything. I recruited for investment banking, hated it. I recruited for consulting, hated it. I recruited for tech, didn't hate it as much. I kind of liked tech recruiting, and then I ended up um, doing a business analyst internship, because then again, like Amal said, it's so important for you to know at least what you don't like,
Yeah.
and that by working and doing things practically. And for me, freshman year and sophomore year, because I was a physics major, I did physics research as my internship. I was just doing it in college, but I knew 100% I don't want to work in physics. It's just not for me, not doesn't work with my personality. And then I got introduced into the world of Wall Street somewhere along the like sophomore end of no sophomore summer, because that's when she was interning. I was like, oh, okay, this looks like something I could like look into. And then I ended up now figuring out that I wanted something in between software development and like finance, not necessarily investment banking. Then I ended up in my role. And even for that, honestly, there's a fair amount of luck that goes into it, because like I didn't network with anyone at Morgan Stanley, so to be honest, I don't know how they got my resume. My working theory is that they got it from this program, SEO Edge, which is another thing, by the way. If you are looking to join tech, finance, consulting, SEO Edge is a good POC. I think it's Black specific program to
I think
join.
it's basic.
It's POC. Okay. Yeah. I think that's where they got my resume from, to be honest, but I don't know, because I did not network with anyone, so I feel like I got lucky on that one. Um, but yeah, recruiting is a daunting process, and it definitely helps to also have friends. That I think that is for the most part what got me through that process, and like was, oh my god, I hated that semester. Hey, but just having that support network, definitely, Miriam for like was a huge um crutch for me. But yeah. Friends, luck, and well, right now you'll have the resources because there's people that you can reach out to. So take advantage of all of that. Yeah.
My experience was, I guess, different from all of you. I got it through a referral. Veronica submitted my
You
resume.
did do that.
She did that uh, for the internship program, Morgan Stanley's internship program. That was 2019. From there, for me, it was pretty straightforward. I got invited to a super day. I had my interview. I think in terms of tech, you just need to know your technical, like, if you put something down on a resume, you need to know it. Your data structures, just know your technical skills, so that you qualify for the job. And I think it comes with everything, right? Even with investment banking, like, even if you, whatever pipeline you get in through, you do need to know your skills. You do need to know, what is the area, my area of expertise. And I think for me that worked out, I guess. I mean, yeah, it did work out. And I think one key thing that everyone has mentioned is the internship to full-time pipeline. Most companies do recruit their full-time lot from the in like the junior class interns. So once you secure that junior internship, there's that pipeline to get a direct offer for full-time once you graduate. So be keen on your junior year internship for sure. And I think another thing that Amal mentioned is just having a variety of internships under your belt before you start thinking about full time. I think for me, I was a bio major, and similar to Veronica, that experience was just like horrible. I worked in a forest in Kenya with a colonial professor. It was good because it showed me that I do not want to be
You
a
don't.
biology researcher. And
It's so important.
Important,
So
yeah.
important.
yeah, I mean, that said, I do have my name on like a PhD paper somewhere because I helped with the research.
That's great.
But still, it's good to have those eye-opening experiences where you're in the middle of the forest and you're like, this is not what I want to do at all. Or you're in the lab and you're like, this is not where I see my life going. And academia wasn't it for me, especially in biology, whether here or in Kenya. So knowing that earlier on helps you, and just you shift things out, like you remove things from your table, and when it comes to your final internship, you're able to narrow down and be like, this is what I want to do. And I think one key thing while going through that, make it very intentional. Most skills are transferable. You can have three different or two different internships and then have a different final one. So ensure that even as you go through all those channels or all those steps, you're able to take away something from that. If it's a skill, if it's a connection, if it's just like something that you learn and takes you to like a higher level than you were before.
Yeah.
Very true.
One
I
thing
agree.
I'd say, sorry, Amala interrupted you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I just
Yeah, one thing I'd say about IB specifically is that you don't need to like be a finance major, or you actually don't even need to be an econ or math major to come into IB. You can have any major, but when you're going through the recruitment process, there is a lot of like stuff you're going to have to learn.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you're going to have to learn valuation, you're going to have to learn financial statements. Like there's just stuff that you can't get around. Like those are the questions that are going to come up in the interview process. And it's kind of, you kind of know, like, especially if you have someone to tell you what to like look at, you can kind of know what kind of questions that are going to come up and what to prepare for. But like, there's no getting around putting in the work to get ready for the interview.
Anywhere, really.
This is that's true for all of them. That is very true. And also, in relation to that, you have to show interest. So even if you have an unrelated major, because any major can get any job. Like I said, I was physics. I work at a fucking investment. Ooh, I don't know if I can cuss, but I work at an investment bank. But yeah, and Cynthia started as bio, switched to CS. So, but either way, you have to show interest in that field that you want to get into. So if you're interested in finance, don't just go out of the blue to finance from physics. Like join a club, talk to finance people, watch YouTube videos, just show that you're interested in that what is it, in that industry, because you can't just go like your resume has to tell a story, and that story has to explain at the end of the day why are you at that seat, why are you applying for that job. And you should be able to connect the dots. It just can't be out of the blue. Because like yeah, it's a lucrative career to be an investment bank, and like everybody would do it if it was easy. So you have to show interest and you have to show why it is that you want that job.
It
Yeah.
was literally a question.
Yeah,
that will
it's
come
a
up.
question. It's like, why are you interested in this in this company, in this? Yeah.
I mean, to add on to what Marianne and Veronica said, is when I was recruiting for investment banking, I had never done a financial model. I'd never modeled before. I'd never done valuation. I'd never done any of that. But then I was so interested in it, and looked for pamphlets and looked for books to read about it. So I showed interest, and the VP who was interviewing me, I remember vividly, asked me, it's like, so you've never modeled, but every step on how to go about this, because I was very interested and I wanted to learn, and I showcased my interest during the interview process that this is what I want, and I've taken time to learn all this. If you give me an opportunity, I'm going to put in the work and get the job done. So you need interest part, very important, because there's no because everyone wants a job, right? Everyone wants to be investment banking, especially at Goldman. Acceptance rate is less, like I think it's 5% or less, like which is like, because a lot of people
Yeah.
submit their resumes there. So interest, you need to show interest. Like even if you're a history major, you're applying to Goldman investment banking, you need why are you interested in that? Like you need to know about the markets, you need to know what deals are happening. If you're interested in healthcare, you need to keep those numbers like in mind. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And I think even beyond getting your foot in the door, it's also like a matter of, are you going to be miserable on the job? Because I
Oh, sh-
think I guess my role, I think I can also speak for Ivy when I say it's a very intense role. And
mhm,
if you
yeah.
don't have that interest that is actually driving you within the job, after you get the job, it might be harder to sustain it. So beyond just wanting to get your foot in the job, it might be just a stop before you jump to your next career or whatever. But have like a sustainable level of interest that is going to keep you there and do well. Yeah.
yep, very true. Great.
Yeah, it sounds brutal. The whole process, recruitment process.
Yeah.
Just on a lighter note, like my final question for somebody looking to get into a specific role, and be honest, because I've seen you guys working.
Wow.
What's your work-life balance on a scale of I have a social life, my social life is non-existent?
As the
Marianne will go.
designated agent person.
I've seen you, Marianne.
Yeah, I was with Faith last weekend and I showed up with my
We all
laptop.
have.
Guys, you're going to have to give me an hour.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Investment banking, Amal can speak to it. Like investment banking is demanding. It's gruesome hours, like, and it's also unpredictable. It's hard to make tangible plans sometimes because you just don't know. Like, if you want to meet up on a Friday evening, I can't tell you which time I'll free up. Like I'll have to let you know that Friday. Or even sometimes, like I don't know what's happening with my weekend until Friday,
Yeah.
and so it's like really hard to make plans ahead of time sometimes. As you like after some time in the role, you can try and be, a little more intentional with things and just try and post your teams and try and work around things to try and create some semblance of a work-life balance. But especially at the beginning, when someone asks you to jump, it's how high, like, you can't be like, oh, actually, I have to do this and
Get
that. I
deep.
mean, obviously, if it's family, if it's important, you
Can't
can't.
jump today.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we like during the week, we work all the time, like yeah, especially now with work from home, like there's even less of a boundary between like your working day
I
and
don't miss that.
Where it
I don't
begins
miss
and where
that.
it ends.
yeah, it's all a blur. Like emails start coming in at like 7 a.m. in the morning, and you went to sleep at like 2 a.m. the previous night, and it's like, your guys, like, when am I supposed to rest? And yeah, like weekends, especially Sundays. Sundays are basically working days. So if you're not working on Sunday,
That
then
your
it's,
week starts on
yeah, if you're not working on Sunday, then it's actually like, oh wow, I'm not working this Sunday. Granted, we don't usually start like early. At least I don't start early on Sunday. I log in the afternoon. And most of our Saturdays at Goldman, and I think this is similar for a few other places, Saturdays are protected, and so you're not supposed to work on Saturdays. There are exceptions. I have gotten, I think, 2 already in the last month.
There's no
Exception is a suggestion, though.
Yeah, there are exceptions for sure, and exceptions will happen. But like
Wait,
they try and protect
exception
Saturdays.
is that you can't work on Saturday.
Exception is that you do work on
You
Saturday.
do work on Saturday, yeah.
Oh, right. Oh,
So
right.
the rule is
Right.
protection.
Yeah, because
They're
the Saturdays are
protected. Yeah.
supposed to be protected, but you can get an exception to work. But yeah, so like work-life balance, not really a thing in first year, I would say.
It's never really a thing. Let's be honest. No, it's never really a thing. I've never seen it. I mean, unless you have, but I've been in investment banking and I don't think there's something like a work-life balance, honestly.
I know, even for senior people, because like especially when in the office, like it would be 2 a.m. and I see MDs here, and I'm like, when does it stop? Like, when does
Doesn't.
it stop? And you see VPs will be in the office until super late. And my associates, this guy that I was saying I love, like he was talking to an MD recently, and they were just talking about like how much work they have, and the associate asked the MD like, when does it stop? And the MD was like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Because then at MD level now you're worried about bringing in the business.
Yeah, bringing in business, bringing in clients. You have to maintain relationships, have a million calls, and like, and you have to be thoughtful about like what your analysts and associates are working on, what they're putting on books. Like, there's still so much to do at every step. The work changes, the role itself changes, and I have seen MDs who seem to have it a little better. By a little better, I mean like they leave at 8. Not like super late. And some MDs and some VPs who try and create boundaries for themselves a little bit. I have an associate who doesn't work late at night unless he has to. Like by that I mean like unless like there's something really really busy going on, he tries to sign out at like 10. Granted, he is extremely fast, so he does his work super fast and tries to get it done during the day. I have like sometimes there's no getting around it, but like yeah, trying to create some type of balance for yourself as you progress in your career. Definitely not at the beginning, not your first or second year. I can't be like, guys, I don't work after 10 p.m. Not a thing. And you also have to be excellent at your job to be able to create some of these boundaries for yourself is also another thing. Because you have to be invaluable for people to try and work around you.
Your skin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a very lucrative career on a positive note. Investment banking, the money, the people that you meet, the networks, the skills that you derive out of the career. But then, I mean, I personally realized that my personal time is something that I did not want to sacrifice anymore. Like, I learned so much. I network with amazing people. There's always people on my LinkedIn inbox asking me if I want to take on this job. Like, it's a great career to be in, but you need to know what you will be sacrificing. And it's the hours, it's the work, it's the stress. So there's just so much that goes into it. And at some point I just realized that it's a great job, like very nice, like it's been able to give me so much immediately after college, but then I don't think I want to do this anymore and I want to make a switch. So I made the switch because I just wasn't willing to sacrifice my personal happiness or time anymore. So
Yeah.
How is tech?
I guess tech is more flexible. These are horror stories I'm hearing, but no offense. Tech is more flexible in my opinion. I think sure it depends. It goes down to, is it a remote job or is it, I guess now everything is remote, but you can kind of create a life balance within around your work basically. Like for me, I like to run. That's like maybe an hour and a half each day, so I get to do that. I like sometimes I go to the gym. Like I'm able to do things outside of work, and like I don't work weekends unless you have a release like this weekend. So it depends really on like what's the current job assignment, what's the task at hand, uh what do they need, like where am I needed, and also I think my expertise, like am I required at this moment, maybe not, so I can serve a different role elsewhere or just be by myself. So tech is definitely more flexible. Yeah, unless Veronica has experienced something
No,
different.
I was just literally going to say tech is it's nice. I'm not gonna lie, it's really nice.
Marianne,
We live together.
We picked the wrong.
No, wait, Aman. No, listen. Let me tell you. No,
And
Aman.
I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
No, you guys. Okay, this is the thing though. Okay, during most of the year, it's nice, but on bonus day, I'm like, I think I made the wrong choice. I think I'm in the wrong line of work. I've gone with that investment banking. But it is. I mean, we lead different lives. I have actually, as her roommate, I have come to. I don't make plans with Marianne. I just learned the hard way. Like, because we'd be like, I think there's a time where like, oh, we should watch something this weekend and chill.
Nope.
No, it's just or I'm talking to her and then just I'm mid sentence and then she'll zone out because she got an email and then she's like, okay, I guess I'm talking to myself now. Okay.
Not even offensive at all.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
it got to a point where my friend complained about me being on the phone all the time. And I had to explain, I'm like, I'm not on the phone all the time. I have to check on my emails every minute because you have to respond. Like, you have to be super responsive. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, I feel like even in my job, my current, I mean, corporate development and strategy, I feel like it's sort of like the same. I feel like it's in any deal environment. Like, I feel like you just have to be super responsive because you cannot like respond after maybe an hour or so. It's sort of you cannot. No, you cannot.
Yeah.
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 You
Definitely in tech is not like that. Because for us, it's like if you don't respond to an email, nobody's gonna die. It's fine.
Yeah.
If I don't get back to it in the next hour or two, I'll get to it when I get to it. And I remember even like IMs and stuff with my man. Like I used to feel so bad if I am like 5 minutes or 15 minutes late, and then she's like, nobody's gonna die. Like I'll be fine. Because I
Must
would
be
come
nice.
back and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm just so apologetic. And she's like, it's fine. You get to it when you get to it. It's not like for death. You will be fine. It's nice.
Must be nice. Cannot relate.
wait,
It's just nice until bonus day. That's all I have to say. That's it. I just the same bonuses. If the bonuses applied in tech, that would be like the most perfect.
Yeah, so pick your poison basically, and just stick with it.
It's true. Pick your struggle. You have to choose
you
your struggle.
that exactly. That's the conclusion of like this. So pick the struggle. Are you willing to make the sacrifices? Are you willing to put in the work? Whatever. Pick your struggle, my friend.
Speak it. And also on like a more practical note, it's like you can apply for the job, but it's not a must you get the job. So
No,
especially as an immigrant, especially by the way, this is like so important because your visa and all that. Because you don't know what job, so you just apply and hope that you get the job that you really really want and hope that it works out. But be open to try whatever it is that will help you with the visa process if at all that's what you are trying to do. Um, and also just on a side note, when you're choosing your majors, I like this is just my rule of thumb. Do STEM. If you are an immigrant, do a STEM. Do a STEM major. Like ongezea math. Just do. Econ is now STEM. Just do STEM.
Aki, very say something on a side note, it reminded me of Kenya. For some reason, it just made me laugh. No, it's okay.
I love that.
The Kenyan in me comes out when the more passionate I am about a subject.
I love it.
The accent will come through.
Take over.
To add on to what you were saying, like early on in your academic career, like you want to give yourself as much optionality as possible. Like,
Yes.
trying not to limit yourself early on, which is why she's emphasizing STEM.
Yeah.
Because STEM
Yeah.
gives you options, gives you duration after you graduate. You can stay here for 3 years, but in case Trump is out, you can stop fucking around with these visas. Um, but and also, like what Amal said before, taking internships early on so that you can start canceling things out if it's not it, or you can be like, okay, maybe this is it. Just trying to give yourself as much
Options.
optionality as possible.
Yeah.
early in your career.
It's actually
That's trying different things. Yeah,
yeah.
like she said, she applied to everything. And honestly, especially as an international, sometimes you just have to there could be this one thing that you really want. Definitely apply to that one thing, but also apply to other things because that one thing might not work out.
It might not. That's just the
life.
practicality.
And, it can be in the situation where if it doesn't work out, you have to leave the country. Like what happens then? So just trying to not limit yourself early on is really important.
Yeah. I think on the other side note, if you're not looking for a career in STEM, I think it's also a good idea to start on the other side early. So I think one thing that I think for all of us it's standard when you get to freshman year, most of your classmates are already like ahead of you.
Yes.
Whether they had like an internship whether they had like an internship or a relative or like exposure, it doesn't matter, but we don't get exposed to the same opportunities that they do at the age that we enter college, and that's is unfortunate, but it is the reality, right? So I think the whole idea of getting to your final interview pre-graduation is to have a resume, like the whole idea of having a background, a history, and if you're looking for a long-term career in I don't know, public service or I don't know, like basically non-STEM path, it's also a good idea to start that early enough, because
Yeah.
these kids have been to like UN things and like they've basically had that like under their belt. So some of my friends I've seen, they just didn't try to explore like STEM or econ or whatever, or like investment banking or Wall Street at all. They just directly went to like, oh, I want to do an internship in DC, or like even if it's nothing that, or I want to do like a fellowship with this, college, or I'm thinking about grad school. So if you're thinking about like that kind of long term, it doesn't hurt to also still try and explore that early enough, even though in terms of immigration, a lot of things will be, a lot of decks will be stacked against you. So do not, I mean, we're all STEM and I am pro STEM any day, CS to be specific, but it doesn't hurt to stick to what you want at the end of the day, because I can stick it out to tech for the next 10 years. If you don't see yourself sticking out in tech or IB for the next 5-10 years,
Yeah.
I don't see a reason why you should start
Yeah.
that
Oh,
path. So,
The struggle.
because that means that you'll start cultivating your relationships in the field that you want early. You'll
Yeah.
start cultivating your experiences in the field that you want early. So also think about that double-edged sword, and know like the risks that come with it. Like, oh, you might not be able to get H1B sponsorship from a company, or like there's also like choose your
The
struggle
struggle.
the
end of the
struggle.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually so important. But like that definitely applies to people who know what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice is to people, if you don't know what you want, STEM is like the safest bet to give you optionality.
Yeah.
Because then you can at least try and explore as you figure out what you want. But if you do know what you want, stick to what you want.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
internships are not going to give you like, they're not going to clear like a path for your career. Like you're not going to know that, okay, this is exactly what I want to do in the next 10 years. No, it doesn't work that way. You try it out, it doesn't work out, you move on to the next thing. And I feel like that's how careers are being built. Like if you look at, resumes of like the MDs and all that, like you've seen someone, I've seen a resume where someone was in, I don't know, like construction industry, like construction, and now they're in investment banking industrials, covering, like I don't know, these like construction companies, like so people change careers a lot. Like internships are not like your ticket to like getting these jobs, but then they give you like some of the skills, they give you some like soft skills, they give you some of the hard skills, and then along the way like you just have to try, you just go for it, go for it, try, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't hurt, move on to the next thing. Like I tried investment banking, it was great, I really loved it, I learned so much, but then I'm just not willing to sacrifice that time and energy anymore. I feel like I'm in a different phase than like my, personal life. Now I want something a little bit more relaxed, but at the same time still getting that big money. So, so it just
Yes.
at the end of the day, pick your struggle. Okay.
That's the
Bottom
summary.
line.
The summary is pick your struggle.
And know
You
the
don't take
consequences that comes with that picking that struggle. Know that okay, this is what I'm signing up for. So if you're taking this job that's very stressful, but okay, good money, good whatever the skills and all that, well, I'm willing to sacrifice, go for it. If you don't want to be stressed out, but you're gonna start off from like, a lower salary and you're willing to sacrifice that, go for it. Like whatever it is, pick your struggle well, my friend.
Yeah, pick
I
it.
love that. Okay, just to end the meeting, like, what's your favorite quote on a lighter tone? Mine is usually, "I didn't come this far just to come this far." So.
Oh.
No,
Hey,
uh,
wow.
I like that.
honestly, I gotta think about this. Like,
Even
Yeah, me
me,
too.
I'm totally blushing.
yeah,
I can say mine. I usually have, it's Bible based. I usually have one, but I think now I'm pivoting. So I usually use the he makes everything good in its time. It's just like God, like things will happen at God's time, and like God's timing is perfect. I'm Christian, so
yeah,
I trust that a lot, and like sometimes things, it just feels like a mess, but God's time will like take that away from you, and things will just work out magical. But now I'm like the serenity prayer.
Oh, yeah.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Oh,
Change
The
the
things
things
that
I
the
can
one
Yeah.
the
and the
die
wisdom
song.
to know the
Mm.
difference.
No.
Yeah, but now my favorite line is the courage to think to change the things I can. And I think I want that more. Like I mean that like strongly because with great power, great responsibility, blah 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 and all that. But I it's
Doing all
Hey,
that.
History.
I
when
need that courage.
she right?
Yeah, I think constantly. I'm not. I'm surprisingly not as prayerful as you might think. Like I think I'm going. I don't want to like go off on a tangent,
Like,
but
wait.
I don't pray like as like a daily thing. But I think like living that line as a prayer thing, as like just courage. If I can change something, make it better. I want God to give me that, or just the universe, or like whatever spirits are aligning for me. So yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't remember one specific. I really don't. I'm blanking out right
In your
I know. I mean,
Amal.
yeah.
now.
Even it had a preparation. But I feel like I guess maybe since Welinga may fungwa that nini, I guess I don't know if it's specifically a quote, but it's just something that I guess I just carry with me.
Okay.
Um, if it's meant to be, it will be.
Yeah.
So if it is yours, it is going to
Yeah.
be yours. If it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. I think it just gives me peace of mind,
Yeah.
especially if like things are going, shit is hitting the fan or things are not going too well. It's like, you know what, I did my part. Your part, the rest, if it's meant to be, let it be.
By
Yeah.
the way, that's very true, and that's one thing that I've had to learn over time. These days, I don't think I don't even get stressed out these days because I know, at least in my religion, I believe that even when I'm hiding, there's this verse that says even when you're hiding in between like two mountains, if that thing is yours and it's meant to find you, it will come. It's yours. It's mine and mine alone. And I'm gonna get it. So I really don't stress. I'm like, okay, this was not me. It's like, what's the way forward? What
Mhm.
am I doing? How do I strategize to move forward, to plan? Like I feel like that's how, I mean, it's not the perfect way, but that's how I've been approaching life. And it's just been super because if you focus on, okay, what's the outcome of this? Like, am I really gonna get it? And then you're gonna get stressed out pre, knowing, and then